Well, on Wednesday, Pam Bondi testified in front of Congress, and she was destroyed to her face by multiple representatives that are part of the oversight committee. This has to be a very embarrassing moment. I would not think that Pam Bondi walked away from this feeling good. And one of the things I think that really stood out to me is the fact that she became overly emotional. And I think that's something that people are going to remember. Instead of remaining calm and just answering the questions, she became overly emotional. And at sometimes she I guess decided to pivot to another topic instead of answering the question at hand. We're going to go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I want to take you back to this moment where Thomas Massie said that he was invited to a dinner and the discussion of the Epstein files was brought up by Pam Bondi. I want you to see what was said there before we get into that catastrophe that took place on Wednesday. So let's go ahead and get into that. Listen to what he says here.
Really happened back at the DOJ when Pam Bondi invited Jim Jordan and all the other Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee to come over for dinner. And they had DOJ China. Now, Pam Bondi didn't create the China. She was surprised to find out that the DOJ had China, but it had been decades since the DOJ had invited Congress to come over, and, it was to be a cordial dinner, and it was cordial. And before I went there, it was actually my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, suggested, I said, Jim Jordan told us we each get to ask one question of Pam Bondi, that she'll take questions. And I said, what do you think I should ask? And she said, ask her when the next phase of those binders is coming out. And I said, I'm not going to do that. This is a cordial dinner. It's to kind of, associate names with faces and develop a basis for cordial correspondence and whatnot as the administration goes on. But as the day got nearer, I decided that is what I should do as I started looking at what wasn't getting released. And so she was making more and more statements in the public. And so I asked Jim Jordan, I said, do you care? I want to let you know this is the question I want to ask her. And he said, you do you, Massie. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And so sure enough, seated at the table, I think it may have been Todd Blanche between me and Pam Bondi. The most senior members of the Judiciary Committee were seated kind of across the table from them. But somehow I ended up on this very long table, very near Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. And I chatted with them too before we sat down. There were some other people who were there that I don't want to disparage by mentioning them, but because they didn't have anything to do with the Epstein files. In any case, I asked the question. I asked Pam Bondi, when could we expect to see the next tranche of these files? And she told me that all that was left was child porn, and it was really disgusting, and nobody wanted to see that kind of stuff. And, if I were you, if I were a reporter, there would have been a follow-up question, but this was a cordial dinner. And I just at that point, I realized she has no intention of ever releasing any more files.
I thought it was important for everyone to hear that because obviously, as we have all seen and we've gone through these files, that is obviously not the case. There's a lot of information there that really does make powerful, rich people look like monsters because that's exactly what they are. So she had decided early on that she was not going to release that information. And had it not been for the pressure of Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and the survivors, this would have never happened. So I thought it was important for you to hear that because it shows you that Pam Bondi, like we said about Erica Kirk and many of the others, is an actress. These people are acting, they're putting on a performance, and that's basically what you're seeing. Now, when she arrived, there was someone there who decided to tell her exactly what they thought about her. Listen to this.
Bondi, you are a disgrace to the American people. You protect pedophiles who systematically rape children.
Yeah. So before she even made it into the building, people let her know what they thought about her. And it's true. She is protecting very powerful people. Pramila Jayapal kind of kicked things off here about what she saw in the files. And I have to say, you know, it's not often that Pramila Jayapal kind of like stands up here in this type of way. There have been multiple times when Biden was in office and she had signed on to push back against certain things, and then she kind of walked away. But because it's now the Republican Party, she seems to have more of that fire to push back and to try to fight. And unfortunately, you know, what I did notice with these files, with this hearing of Pam Bondi as well, is that, yeah, it was made partisan, and it's not. The Epstein files are not partisan. They implicate Democrats and Republicans. But the one thing that all these people have in common is money, wealth, and power. And that's really what it's about. Guys, this is a class war. This is a class issue. And that's what people really need to stress instead of saying it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats. No, it's a class issue. Listen to what she said here at the very beginning.
Yesterday, I spent several hours at the Department of Justice looking through the unredacted files and reading the absolutely horrific and depraved messages that went back and forth between rich and powerful people in every sphere of influence.
See, rich and powerful people, not rich Democrats, not rich Republicans.
These people are at the top of governments, academic institutions, billionaires at giant corporations, cabinet secretaries, and the callous depravity of their messages showed that they absolutely believed that they were above the law, above morals, absolutely immune to any societal norms. They joked in these emails about pedophiles, about horrific sexual acts with young girls, about creating spaces, entire islands even, where they could do anything they wanted and get away with it because of their wealth, their power, and their connections. This was a massive global sex trafficking ring with thousands of victims that we know of and thousands more that we probably don't. So when DOJ says that there is nothing to investigate, we, the American people, must rise up.
So one thing I want to add here, people are talking about this as if it's past tense. Just because they captured Jeffrey Epstein, that doesn't mean that this behavior has ended. Trafficking is still an issue worldwide. It's been an issue for years. So I do want to say that I don't want people to think that these types of things no longer go on. They do go on, right? So it's still a problem. This is a systemic issue. It's a class issue. And until you tear down that system and rebuild something that's new, until we have a serious class war, not just in this country, but in the world, these types of things can continue because these people that are in powerful positions are not held accountable.
We must allow the courage and the determination of the survivors who have spoken out at great risk to themselves to push us to never give up until every single one of these predators and pedophiles and predator protectors is brought to justice.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this mess that Pam Bondi had yesterday. It was actually quite laughable. At the very beginning, again, we're starting off with Pramila Jayapal, where she is asking the victims to stand up. This part, I think, is the most resounding image that I saw from the hearing yesterday.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand.
This is one of the more, like I said, resounding images. And there's another angle that I'm going to show you later on as well of Pam Bondi, because what it goes to show you is that not once have they sat down to speak to these women. And that says a lot. They had no intention of revealing the names in the files, which you got 6 of them. Those are going to be the fall guys. That's how this works. They said, we'll go ahead and let these be the fall guys. And so people will be satisfied. There are multiple other names listed in there as well that are still being protected and redacted. In fact, on the live stream tonight for Thursday night, we're going to get into what Nancy Mace said to Piers Morgan. It's a lot more people involved in this, folks. They're still protecting people. And that just goes to show you it is what it is. Now, to the point, you know, some people they say, well, why didn't this happen under the Biden administration? I agree. Why didn't it happen under Biden administration? Why didn't it happen under Trump's first administration? I mean, these files go back for quite some time. This didn't just become a thing, you know, recently. And you're going to see Thomas Massey actually touch on that when Pam Bondi gets into this, like, about Merrick Garland. But the reality is here, I see them all as complicit because both parties didn't give enough about these victims to push back and fight back against power. And that's essentially what it is, because you're fighting back against powerful people. Some of these people are donors to the Democratic Party. Some of these people, and you'll see in these pictures that we show you later in the live stream tonight, some of these people connected to CIA. Some of these people, I mean, it's so entrenched because we have such a corrupt system. And that's what people really need to take away from this, the corruption that we have in this system.
Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
that's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the answer.
Time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady has reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll direct it to
what
you.
a massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not
interrupted.
going to get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
Gentlelady.
So this is where right off the bat, Pam Bondi really failed, right? Like, can she still bring up Merrick Garland? Yes, she can bring up Merrick Garland. But the question was, will you turn to the survivors and apologize to them face to face right now? Will you speak to them now? They never sat down and met with them. Pam Bondi couldn't even say yes. She could have mentioned Merrick Garland after the fact. She could have said, yes, I will, and turn around and say to them, I was wrong. We were wrong not to, allow you to come in and speak to us. Let's get together. Let's sit down. Let's have this conversation and let's move forward. I mean, this is really easy to do. Pam Bondi is a lawyer, by the way. That's why I was kind of surprised with the way that she handled herself As someone who's a lawyer, she knows how interrogations go. So I found that very weird that she could not control her emotions, right? And so she could have said all that and then said, I do want to add that I'm curious why you didn't ask these questions to Merrick Garland. That could have came after. Because the reality is, under the Biden administration, neither party pushed this the way that it's being pushed now. Neither party did. Not the Republican Party, not the Democratic Party. So, I mean, this goes far back. These files didn't start under Biden. These files have existed for years, which you'll get to in a second with Thomas Massie when he brings this up, how far back this actually goes. He goes all the way back to Bush. So, yeah, decades where these things could have been really, hammered into if they really wanted to get some type of justice for these victims. So the fact that she wouldn't even turn to them and say that right there tells you something. Let's go on.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final 17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only to then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Ghislaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up. And I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
Chair now recognizes the chair.
And what you have done.
Time of the gentlelady expired.
Yeah, this was very, very telling. Now, here's the other thing. The Trump administration did run on that issue. They did say that they were going to get justice for the survivors. So when people say, well, what about the Biden administration? Yeah, this should have happened under the Biden administration as well. But Biden didn't say that this is something that he was going to do. The Trump administration did. And it seems like Pam Bondi is surprised that people tried to hold them to that. Let's get to this part here with Thomas Massie, because I think this is where things really kind of go off the rails.
Where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So yes. I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to the next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Yeah, See, this is the appalling part, because she kind of told on herself there when she said within 40 minutes his name was added back. So she's admitting to you that she tried to remove it, that she removed it or hid that information. And then she says, well, then it was added back. But that was after Thomas Massie pressured them and called them out for doing it. So it's not like she was trying to do the right thing from the beginning. She never was. She never was. And I got to say this, as a woman, it is really, I feel some type of way that you have another female who was willing to try to cover up for the abuse of other women. And in the case, from what I'm reading, could be some other guys. But you had a woman who was willing to protect powerful rich men. It's the same way I feel towards Ghislaine Maxwell, who is living in a very cushy prison from what I've seen, has the nerve to ask for a pardon. Same thing I feel for Ghislaine Maxwell. You recruited the girls. And according to Virginia G. Frey, Ghislaine Maxwell also participated in the abuse. How could you as a female sexually abuse another woman? What the hell is wrong with you? So when people say, well, women come together and women have women power. No, we don't. No, we don't. Because you have women like this who are more willing to protect powerful men than to have some type of coming together with other women.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700, and we invited you in.
Gentlemen,
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get on
want you to
these
watch the video.
matters.
So do you see the way that Pam Bondi starts to get emotional? This is where the insults come in. And one of the things I learned, like when I was on the debate team, like my debate coach taught us this, that you should be able to make your argument without insults. Once you start to insult people, that's when you lose the argument. So she was losing the argument because she got caught. And then she starts to insult and says that Thomas Massie is a failed politician. Really interesting. It's kind of funny because Donald Trump used to always say that Thomas Massie doesn't do anything or doesn't get anything done. And here's Thomas Massie actually fighting for something. And now he's a failed politician. So which is it? Let's get to this part here where they bring up Merrick Garland again.
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I'm reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't-
bigger than
when you can't-
Watergate.
when I don't answer a question the
This
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And
That part right there is, I think, what sent off alarms, because everyone keeps mentioning Biden, but Thomas Massie explained it goes all the way back to Bush. That's how long this has been going on. That's how long Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and all the other co-conspirators were able to get away with what they were doing. You guys understand that? So him bringing it back to Bush says, well, why didn't you guys bring it up under Bush? Why wasn't it brought up under Obama? Why wasn't it brought up under Trump's first term? Why wasn't it brought up under Biden? Why wasn't it? There's all these different presidents that were here, and this could have been brought up a long time ago. I think it was important that he did that because he shows you again, this was a problem across both political parties.
Now, I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wexner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time is.
So do you see how she loses her cool? This went throughout the hearing, by the way. She's losing her cool. Look at the look on his face. Like she's literally comparing the deep AI fake to people actually being trafficked. So he went from a failed politician to a hypocrite. Yeah, it's embarrassing for her. She's losing her cool. And then she goes on to call a Jewish politician, this is Representative Balint, anti-Semitic. What I tell you, when all things fail, throw out that word.
We have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what
does ties mean?
I can conclude
What does
from what
ties
you are
mean?
saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties
So,
mean? Can
I
you
think
define
Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does
across
ties
the
mean?
world,
Can you define that?
across the world,
Can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been
Time
exposed
belongs to the
in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace, and that's a good first start. And that same
Disgrace is
standard,
not saying the word
this
Chris
same
Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president
he?
aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask
was
questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
One second.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from.
You know who she got this from, right? Pam Bondi got this from Donald Trump. Willing to bet that he talked to her, maybe gave her some talking points before this hearing, and she's embarrassing herself. It's just really bad. Again, you know, this whole idea of don't admit fault, don't apologize, this type of thing, that comes from Donald Trump. So she goes on to call her anti-Semitic.
Didn't see one tweet, not one. I didn't see one tweet when Joe Biden was in office about Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once when he was.
Weak sauce.
And
Weak sauce.
also, I want the record to reflect that, you know, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
is
Jewish.
I just
want to be clear. Do you want to go there, Attorney General? Or do you want to go there? Are you serious? Talking about anti-Semitism to a woman who lost her grandfather in the Holocaust? Really?
The committee will be in order.
Talk to Jared Wise about anti-Semitism.
The ranking member.
So do you see what is happening? I'm losing the argument. I'm being exposed. So let me call her anti-Semitic. I told you, when all else fails, throw that word out there. That's what they do. This has absolutely nothing to do with what she was brought there to testify about. That probably was one of the most embarrassing comments from Pam Bondi, because it showed that she was weak. It showed that she did not know how to win the argument. It showed that also, even though she has that big ass binder in front of her, which we'll get to what that was about in just a second, she was not prepared. How low can Pam Bondi go? And it's also kind of embarrassing. You said that there's someone who lost their family in the Holocaust. I don't know what to tell you. It gets worse. She goes on to say to Nader that he's washed up.
I mean, you can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you, because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time that I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already.
45 seconds.
Okay.
Pam Bondi really disgraced women everywhere. She really did. And I'll tell you why. Because this is an example that people can point to and say, oh, women are overly emotional. They shouldn't be in these positions because they're overly emotional. This was absolutely disgusting. It was bad. Like, you're losing the argument, so you start calling people names. How is that professional? Pam Bondi is 60 years old. Did you know that? She is 60 years old. And she couldn't be professional at all. Yes, you know, you go into these hearings, it's going to be an interrogation. But as someone who is a lawyer, she should have been able to control her emotions even more. and she didn't. And she exposed herself. It goes on more here.
Thank you. Here we go. Here's the photograph. This is why he wanted to repeat everything that had been said previously on Epstein. This is his state, New York. You probably don't even know who this is. Wahid Mohammed from Afghanistan.
Yes, because I'm no longer a prosecutor.
Convicted of assault. Wow, he represents New York. Wow, yet he doesn't care about the illegal aliens convicted of crimes. Assault and homicide. No longer a prosecutor, so he doesn't care about his constituents. Here we go. Arson, El Salvador, Miguel Palacios. Fermin Flores Ramales, Mexico, rape.
So here we have Pam Bondi pivoting to migrants and the crimes that they have committed instead of talking about what her office at the DOJ did not do. So do you see the problem? Here she is diverting once again. Oh, well, you're in New York. Let's talk about these illegals that were in New York that committed these crimes. What the fuck does that have to do with the way that you handled the Epstein files? I told you guys, this was an absolute embarrassment. I didn't expect her to do, fantastically, well with this. But I didn't expect her to be this embarrassing because she is a lawyer. You would have thought she would have been prepared. Again, like, who told her this was a good idea? Just distract, divert, move away from the issue. Then she gets caught lying here. And by all people, she gets caught by Ted Lieu. Ted Lieu isn't even a fighter. Ted Lieu is probably one of the most milquetoast Democrats. He's corporate. That you can find in Congress. Ted Lieu exposed her.
And discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's the video.
We have to mute it here because of the music, because he's basically showing here Donald Trump hanging out with Epstein at one of these parties back in the day.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous. And
see, she can't even answer the question.
That they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time.
How can you say it's been the most transparent presidency and you were sitting here involved in a cover-up? You see how these people just lie? Lie.
I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock.
Stop the clock. The legislation.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and the officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness.
Nope.
You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell. So should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
Gentlemen.
I can't believe she was put under pressure by Ted Lieu. That's how you know it's embarrassing. We got to drop the pressure beat for this one.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.
A moment can live on forever. And for you, Pam Bondi, it apparently did. Like this, it's just so damning. Like going through this, I was like, oh boy, this is a doozy. Here's another one here. Like I said, it gets crazier and crazier for her. She decides it's a good idea to bring up the stock market.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Committee will be in order.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
The committee will be in order. The time.
So she pivots to the stock market, but Nora said something about that I thought was interesting that I want to share with you guys, right? Let's talk about the stock market instead of these crimes, right? Because again, a lot of this leads back to Israel. Nora said this. She's reminding them that they all benefit from the stock market. All of those Congress people are corrupt. They all go into Congress and come out 10 times richer because they're doing insider trading. So it's almost like she had to hold that carrot over their head. Hey, you guys realize the Dow was down. You realize how you might be impacted. So she pivots to economics to, again, get away from the crimes of these rich, powerful men in the Epstein files. Something else that Nora said here that I thought was important. Did you not catch why she said that, though? She's basically alluding that they're all involved in insider trading. So it's like, why are you complaining? You should be trying to be compliant to the system of corruption because you guys benefit from it. This was deep and good for them for holding her accountable. This is the problem with our country right now. Yeah, she was basically telling them, you guys benefit from this corrupt system that you're complaining about. So you should just be quiet. Shout out to Nora Christine for catching that one. Let's get to the binder. Another thing that was revealed during this testimony, Ali Vitali put this here. I just spoke to Representative Jayapal about Attorney General Bondi's binder page. It shows Jayapal's search history that seemed to include what Jayapal looked for at the DOJ when viewing unredacted files. It's totally inappropriate. Jayapal told me, is this the whole reason why they opened the files up to us 2 days early so they could essentially surveil members to see what we were going to ask her about? This is another thing that people are buzzing about, this binder right here that Pam Bondi had. And if you go in closer, you can see it says Pramila Jayapal's. It shows at the top her search history. So they are watching what you are searching for. And even with this big ass binder in front of her, she still could not win an argument. That's why I say it's so embarrassing. But yeah, they're tracking these things. Thomas Massey comes in and says a funny thing about Bondi's insults to members of Congress who had serious questions. Staff literally gave her flashcards with individualized insults, but she couldn't memorize them. So you can see her shuffle through them to find the flashcards insult that matches the member. Yeah, like I said, it was embarrassing. Towards the end here, Thomas Massey gave his thoughts about Pam Bondi.
I provided the evidence today that shows that his statements were false under oath. Kash Patel's statements were false. They are in possession. They were in possession at the time, and they're still in possession of evidence that other men participated in the sex trafficking.
Attorney General Bondi didn't seem to directly answer that question. And what do you make of what she did say?
She didn't answer anything. She came here just ready to talk about the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, which seems kind of crazy to me. I provided the
Yeah. So Kash Patel lied. Pam Bondi lied. They should be held accountable. It's funny. They're trying to run around the country and lock up everybody else, but they commit crime. And they want you to overlook what they did. Yeah. Lying on the stand, like, this is a big deal. I would imagine Kash Patel is probably freaked out right now. I thought it was pretty interesting. People made memes about Pam Bondi, pedo protectors for Jesus. It's just, oh my God. This one's really funny. Someone created this. Pam Bondi, when you ask her about Jeffrey Epstein.
Fix you some of this new mococo drink. All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua. No artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Fix you some of this new.
Yeah, so many different distractions there from her that I thought was pretty wild. The victims did respond in an interview. I want to play part of this so you can hear how they felt about this afterwards.
Show of hands if you are frustrated with what you heard.
Very much so.
Very much so. Teresa, tell me more about that.
Well, going into this morning, and much of this process, I have this perspective that you need to give people the opportunity to do what they say they're going to do, to fulfill their word, put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And we have yet again seen that go the complete opposite direction of there's no integrity. There was no integrity in that room today. It seemed like, as far when it came to Epstein and Maxwell, you know, there was a lot of expression of other good outcomes on things. And I can agree with a lot of what was said. And there was nothing that gave us any bit of hope of any kind of integrity and doing the right thing when it comes to Epstein, Maxwell, accountability, further investigation, which she claimed was happening. And we're going to be waiting to see the outcome of that and see if that's an accurate, legitimate statement.
Danny, I see you nodding and shaking your head.
I think there was such a lack of empathy today. There was such a lack of, honestly, humanity today. Something that, you know, I think all of us felt a little devastated about was that she had 3 opportunities to address survivors. We stood up and all she had to do was turn around, and she could not even turn around and face us.
That part right there. She couldn't even look at them. You guys notice there's a guy there? See that? See if we can pull him in here. You see that?
In that room today.
Right there. So yeah, not just women. This was an absolute embarrassment. I want to leave you with this because I think this says a lot. She couldn't even look at them. And I say to the younger girls, younger women that are watching as well, don't become like this woman. Don't become like that woman who becomes so successful and so powerful that she can't even look at the other women. Don't be this girl. Don't be her. Pam Bondi is 60 years old. She knows better. She may not look like it, but she is. She's 60. Don't be the woman that can't turn around and look at the other women. Don't become the successful woman and forget about the women behind you. Because Pam Bondi, lawyer, she's been very successful and she has learned to look the other way. And I say to the younger girls and to the young women who are watching, don't be that woman. What do I think we should expect from this? I would expect there's going to be a tremendous pressure for Pam Bondi and Kash Patel to resign. That's what I would expect. Do I think they're going to be criminally punished? Probably not. But this entire hearing was embarrassing for her and very bad for the Trump administration. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.